Hello and welcome back. Episode 20 of the Full Program Golf podcast with me, Josh Conlon, and as ever, with joining me, Stevie McAvoy. Today, start of the year, we're going to get into the 2026 year to come, our goals, and what we want to get out of it. Let's get into it. Stevie, how are we doing?
Joshy, good to have you back, mate. I missed you on the last episode.
Well, Christmas gets in the way, doesn't it? Some of us can't be sat in the sun in South Africa. We've got to sit in the freezing cold over here.
I know. I think you can just tell from the kind of different colours on our two screens exactly kind of which hemisphere we're both in at the moment. I have to say though, I've given up on the tan this year. Doesn't happen for me. It's not going to happen for me. A little bit of golf tan going on, but really not going to work on the rest of the bod. But it's been nice down here. It has been nice, and looking forward to welcoming you in on Saturday.
Can't wait. Honestly, I know as we were setting up, we were thinking about lighting and how can I get my face not in so much darkness. And just the fact that we had to have that conversation shows that I look out the window here, and all I can see is just pissing rain and just like drabness. It's a bit warmer than it was last week, but it's awful. So yeah, very much looking forward to a bit of winter sun, the best kind of sun in my book. And I will be on the tanning hype. So the next pod for any of the watchers, they'll be able to see the ghostly look will have gone, and I'll be back in with a real golfer's tan.
Yeah, no, very much looking forward to it. But yeah, like I said, good to have you back. It was nice. It was nice to have our first guests on the FPG pods. I think it was cool to just kind of get some different golfing stories and just get a different voice speaking into the mic. But as ever, always have to be back in the pocket. And what we're doing, we're chopping up 26, and I can't wait. I think it's going to be a big year.
It's going to be a great year. It's I think 2025 we really got ourselves going nicely. I think we've hit some great locations. We've hosted some great trips, sent some people on some great trips. In 2026, much more of the same and much more to come. So certainly stay tuned. But we're very excited, I think it's fair to say.
We are indeed. So golf recently, we'll start with you because I assume there's not a huge amount that's been going on. I did catch the frozen tundra from afar. My mother was sending me various videos of ducks walking on frozen ice and whatnot. I assume the golf course was like an ice rink as well. Did you manage to get out amongst the frost, or has the closures kind of kept you away?
The last time I played was the 23rd of December. Up in Sheffield, played at Hallamshire with Crouch. Been discussed on the pod before. Will Hawksworth, we call him Crouch because he is a long, lanky string. And then the Brown brothers, Barkley and Elliott. So some real friends of the pod. We had a good 4-ball, some money exchanged. Myself and Barkley were able to take the plaudits, take the money home with us, which I tell you what, really set up a lovely little Christmas bonus for myself and Barkley there. But it was actually okay, Nick. It was good enough. It was more just trying to keep the swing going. I feel like I've actually found a bit of form with the driver coming into the back end of the year. And I'm sure that now that I've said that, on Sunday, our first round of golf, I'll be hitting it sideways. So really looking forward to that as well. But no other golf. I'm due a swing studio spot. That's what I'm due.
I was going to say, is there the last minute panic swing studio session going down this year as well?
You better believe that there's already been rumblings in the phone of a early Crouch arrival to Casa Conlon down here in London on Friday afternoon, and a quick range session in the swing studio before we get on the flight. So stay tuned, but yes.
and I see that he's actually already pocketed one back up north, and really disappointed. He posted the photo in the kind of holiday WhatsApp chat, and I searched that photo left to right, top to bottom, trying to find anything in those numbers that I could go at. Unfortunately, there was nothing, was there?
There wasn't. The only thing I would say is the 175 carry with a 7-iron, like, pathetic. But that's the only thing.
Well, to be fair, actually, if you looked at the numbers, he was averaging kind of in the high 180s. But a man of his quality and time spent on golf in life, he should just never be setting the 175 number for the 7 iron.
No, agreed. But I mean, I'm sure he'd argue back that if it's always 175 and it doesn't have a jump to 190 when you catch the flyer, or when you miss hitting it's 160 and it's in the water short, then at least it's predictable. So who knows? Who knows?
Anyway, well, it's good to see him taking his defense of the title seriously. We won't bore people with the inner workings of our betting, because I'm sure we'll cover it on our roundup pod afterwards. But it is funny how the better golfers do tend to rise to the top even in these handicap holidays. I'd be interested if the listeners see the same, but it's when it's over as many as 4 rounds, I feel the cream does just rise with that consistency.
I mean, yeah, it's 4 rounds, isn't it? So there's enough problems to arise, and especially on a golf trip like we have, there's some beers that are consumed amongst other alcoholic beverages of choice, and it's also a bit of a marathon. It's a bit of a who can just last as well as golfing ability, and typically the better golfers rely on timing less, so can be hungover and still keep that ball going forward. So I would say that it's probably a bit of that. I think when we look back to last year, Crouch only won because everyone else fell apart. I don't expect that to happen this year. I really don't. You think one of the boys, George, finished second, third, and he had 19 points on one of the days, and he only came like sort of 8 back. I just don't see it happening this year. I can't see him winning. I know this is not a pod about the bookies and betting, but I agree with you that better golfers typically rise, but I don't think it will be the +4, +5 handicap that wins it this year across 4 rounds.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I don't think we've really got a 19-point course in our run this year. Like I think you should be able to, I think all the fan court courses we're going to play are pretty scoreable, and then Dazalza and Erin Vale are fine. Erin Vale's probably the toughest of the 4, but yeah, I agree, and certainly looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting stuck in. So we kick off our competition, if you will, on Wednesday next week, and then, like I said, once we're through the week, we'll definitely chop it all up, because there's a couple of new courses in there that you haven't played, and so it'll be interesting to kind of see where you pitch them in now that we're kind of covering off the vast majority of the Western Cape. I know we've done some podcasts on it previously as well, but it's nice down here. We'll be welcoming in, like I said, the weather's been fantastic, and I have been golfing. And I did something I'd never done before, and I'm not sure I ever will do before. A couple of weeks ago, I went 5 birdies in a row. And let me tell you, I didn't know what was happening at the time. I think 2 in a row is my best ever. It was just one of those moments, mate. A bit like when we had a game in the summer and it was just all working. Like, it was just, there was an hour stretch there where golf was easy, and God, did it feel good.
That's a nice run. It's a really nice run. I think the first question that comes to mind is, what was the 6th hole? And I think that's just what all the listeners will want to know. What stopped the run?
So quite a good story actually with this. So at 5, I was like, we're done. We've done enough here. And my mindset switched to thinking about trying to not lose the golf ball. Because I was just like, the minute the streak dies, the golf ball's not going to touch grass again, because it's going to go in a draw, and I'll keep it and do something with it or whatever. And so I stood on the 8th tee box at Metropolitan Golf Club, which has out of bounds on the left, but like quite a long way left. And I hit one of the dirtiest rope hooks you have ever seen in your life with a 2-iron. And I actually just laughed when I hit it, because I was just like, I actually, the world was out there to hit, and I've just, done almost like a half swing, just trying to see it down there, and just smothered it over the top. And so we were playing like a better ball game, and so I just said to the guys, like, the 9th tee is kind of on the left where the outbounds is, and so I was like, you guys play the hole, I'm looking for this golf ball. And so I'm looking, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I've lost it. And then for those that know the course, the stadium, the World Cup stadium, is the out of bounds, basically. And there was a security bloke in the hut there. And I just go to him as a last gasp attempt. I was just like, mate, I don't suppose you've just seen a golf ball come out over here. And he has a little bit of a moment, and then he goes back in his hut, and he just comes out with this little bashed up Titleist 3 and just hands it over the thing. And I was just like, you have no idea how happy you've just made a grown man. So the ball is safe. The ball will not touch grass again. And she was found. But yeah, no, hole 6 was not scared. And yeah, it was a pretty firm 5.
Love that. Didn't you have a previous record of 6 birdies in a round?
No, I think I've done 4 birdies and an eagle. So this
Fine.
was.
So I'm guessing you beat that.
Yeah. So, well, they're the only 5 I had. And I still shot like 4 over. So, but it was a nice streak. Hey, Josh, stop asking so many questions, man. Just enjoy it.
Just enjoy it. Just go out there and enjoy it.
Oh dear. But yeah, it was good. I said I really don't think I will get it again. It kind of fell nicely. But anyway, that was one nice little anecdote from the last couple of weeks. And then quite a funny one happened last week. Our trip next week, I'm not playing any golf courses I haven't played before, which is really painful, I have to say, on my quest for markers and filling out my frame. And so, like, where the opportunities have been, I've tried to get around South Africa a little bit, even though I'm a member of a club 5 minutes away. And me and a friend went and played a course called Milnerton, which is right on the coast, just up the west coast from Cape Town City. And it's supposed to be incredibly windy. So it's kind of before Atlantic Beach, if you know where that is.
Way?
No, so Clavelli's kind of like
other side,
down and round. This is up and left. And so if you kept going another half an hour, you'd hit Atlantic Beach. So it's like similar-ish vibes.
Yeah.
Can be incredibly windy. Views back to Cape Town, because it's a bit closer, are supposed to be absolutely phenomenal. And woke up, and sometimes a fog gets kind of trapped between Table Mountain, like, you know, Cape Town just kind of sits in fog, but because it's quite a windy city, it normally kind of moves off. Anyway, woke up on Tuesday last week, huge fog across Cape Town and not a breath of wind. So I go play Milnerton because it's all paid for, booked, whatever else. And this course that's supposed to be set up for huge winds and with amazing views had no wind at all, and I could hardly see the fairway in front of me. So literally bought the ball marker, played the golf course, and came off. And I was just like, I've gained nothing from that experience. So yeah, one I'll probably have to go do again. Wasn't quite what was on the tin.
Yeah, I was going to say, would you play it again based on what you saw?
It's actually a good question. I wouldn't seek to play it again.
Okay.
It was pretty like middle row Cape Town.
What sort of bucket are we putting it in if we're thinking the P's?
Oh, it's another good question. Course was like a 3. And then yeah, like 3 maybe, like really like not like, you know, I very much went because it's a Cape Town course and I wanted the ball marker, and I think it cost me £15 with my SA affiliation card. So it was like a, you know, where haven't I played that's close and could be interesting, but not one I'd be like, if you're on a trip, oh, let's work in Milnerton. Like very, very in the filler, and certainly not close to getting out of it.
Cool. Good to know.
So anyway, enough about our golf. Not a huge amount going on in the professional game at the moment, but someone did quite well last week, didn't he?
Lots of news going out in the professional game, and someone did do well. Let's start on that. And you know what? It's our boy, isn't it? You know, we were very excited, very, very excited when LIV announced that Anthony Kim, AK, was back. Didn't live up to the hype, it's fair to say. Was pretty poor for a year and a half, and then has kind of got a bit better. Well, definitely has got better, even on LIV, and was doing better. And yeah, great to see him finish third
Yeah, and it was
in the
top 3 that went through.
and he's back on live by his own merit. And you know what? That must feel good for him as well. So I'm actually thrilled, and I'm excited to see what he might be able to do. And hopefully, now that he's earned his right onto the tour, he'll actually be able to. I think it's going to be a stretch that he wins this year. Of course it is, but it'd be great to start seeing him right up across the top 10s, top 15s of tournaments a couple of times for the next year. I think that would be a really good goal for him. And who am I to tell him what goal he should be doing, given he's gone from what he's done to this? But I think that would be a really good year for him.
Yeah, I like it. We literally from the announcement video have basically spoken about him every time that anything of interest has kind of happened. And I follow him on Instagram. He looks like he's working incredibly hard at his game. He's obviously was incredibly talented. And it was a bit of a disappointment, but I mean, what a good effort. And I think he was third comfortably. I think someone won by miles, and then I think two, second and third were both on 6 under. And then I think fourth was on 3 under. So there was a healthy bit of buffer. But yeah, to get back on his own accord is a great effort. And what a story it would be if he could, pull out some decent performances next year. I'll be very interested to watch. And that live field is not getting any stronger, and they're not massive fields. And so, who knows? Who knows?
And there's been some interesting names being linked, haven't there? We've seen that Thomas Detry's been linked.
Has he gone?
I haven't seen any announcement of him going. Obviously, Laurie Cantor, we mentioned that on the last pod. He's gone over. There were talks of Sung Jae Im and Siwoo Kim that I think they turned that down. So they're clearly. And did you see that the High Flyers have renamed themselves to Korea
the
Golf
Ironheads? The Ironheads have
the Ironhead. Sorry, the High Flyers is
yeah.
Nicholson, isn't it?
Yeah,
Yes.
no, I
the
saw
Ironhead.
that
So
today.
I wonder if that's going to have an impact on that particular team that's just not been announced yet, because that's Kevin Na's team, isn't it? From my understanding. So that's going to be really interesting. Obviously, the biggest bit of news coming out of LIV is Brooks Koepka. And
it is indeed.
That is a real shake-up for world golf. I can't wait to see the reception he's going to get, which I'm sure is going to be brilliant. But also,
especially is he? I think it's Farmers First, isn't it? But it's Waste Management basically straight after that. And so, whatever the golfing world is thinking, he will know about in Phoenix. So it'll be really interested. That first time walking out onto 16, what that reception is going to be like. I bet you they're going to go absolutely nuts.
Yeah, I do too, and I would imagine that the viewing figures will increase as well, just to watch him on the PGA Tour again, which I think is a really clever move by the PGA Tour to put in this new ruling to basically handpick who they want off LIV if they were to come, because there's only 4 golfers that would be included in that. Koepka, who's gone, DeChambeau, who is the big LIV ticket, and really he should be asking for obscene amounts of money to stay on LIV because they need him. Cam Smith and John Rahm. So it'd be really interesting to see if any of the others get tempted by the Koepka cherry.
It will be interesting, and I think first and foremost, I truly did believe that the new PGA commissioner would let him back on. It's just such a pro PGA Tour move to do that. I think I don't think Monahan would have done it, and I actually don't think there's any way he'd have done it. I think he's an absolute imbecile, and he would have stuck to his guns from kind of the early days. I think it's a big problem for LIV. And I saw something the other day, and they were talking about, oh my God, how much leverage has DeChambeau got now in terms of what he can ask for? And I think the article said he should be asking for 500 million, because I think if DeChambeau defects, then, because he's been one of the most vocal LIV supporters from the absolute get-go, he's absolutely rammed it down our throat. And if he now defects off, it'll be really interesting, momentum wise, where do they go from there? I do think it's a bit of a shame that we're not coming to a world where they're just meeting back and all playing across both together, which is kind of, I think, what we hope for. And I think that now the PGA Tour have seen that the big fish are coming back. I think they'll probably just stand strong. I can't imagine a world where they now would be like, oh, LIV players can just come and play. So it will be really interesting. And like I said, it probably will get me to a TV for the first time in quite a while. I haven't watched a huge amount of PGA golf through 2025, with a lot of star power kind of down, no Tiger, etc. Did you see the actual criteria of Koepka's rejoin? $5 million charity donation, no tour equity for a couple of years, I think it was. And then the one question I had for you, there was no FedEx Cup bonus. So would that be the kind of like, if you win the FedEx Cup, you win 20
Yeah,
million or
exactly
whatever it
that.
is now?
The
So he
prize
just
pool,
wouldn't
if you're
get
in that
anything.
top, doesn't get anything. No, it's just whatever you earn on course, your sponsorship. That's what you get. Well done. Which I think it's an interesting penalty. Clearly, he's gone and taken, what was it, 200 million, whatever, 100 million, whatever it was from LIV. He doesn't necessarily need that. But I think it's quite an interesting wrinkle that they've managed to keep, because I wonder where that money will go. Will that now be split amongst, say it was split amongst the top 30, will it now be split same amount of money across 29, or is it just going to be a black hole that suddenly ends up in one of the PGA execs' pockets? That's the question that needs asking, because
Yes.
and who knows? We don't know.
Yeah.
So that'll be quite interesting to see with that. But I'm excited to see Koepka back. The other thing that's really interesting, though, is certainly as a UK viewer, LIV have now been announced as TNT. It's going to be shown on TNT Sports now. So there is actually going to be the ability to watch it on your screens, on your TV, rather than having to go through
YouTube or whatever it was.
YouTube or their page or whatever. So I think that's going to be interesting to see if that actually makes it a little bit easier to watch and increase its audience.
Yeah, it will be interesting. And I just want to touch on a point you mentioned there, kind of talking about those other players, those big players that you mentioned. Koepka's obviously got out of his contract a year early, whatever that deal was with LIV. And DeChambeau and Cam Smith's contract must both be coming up at the end of this coming year. Whereas Rahm obviously was a late joiner, and so he must have 2 or 3 years left. So I think he's probably in a slightly more complicated situation. But yeah, it'll be very, very interesting. A huge move, and I think a huge day for the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I agreed. And there's a lot of players that I would anticipate will be keeping an eye on it, and that the PGA Tour might want back. Take a Tyrrell Hatton. He's not American, of course, so maybe he has less of a pull for them, but he's been finishing really well, and certainly the DP World Tour, he's been right up there. He could have won it if he'd have had a better finish on the final tournament there, which is testament to a year where it wasn't even the tour he was playing on. So it'd be interesting to see if that parameter shifts, if they start seeing more interest from some of the LIV players to come back to the PGA Tour. I think that would be really interesting to see. And I wonder if this ruling will also impact the Rahm Hatton ruling that's coming up on the DP World Tour and their membership status, which could impact future Ryder Cups, and whether they'll maybe be a little bit more lenient or harsher and put in sanctions accordingly. I think there's a lot up in the air that's quite interesting to see what's going to pan out over the next few months.
Yeah, no, it will be interesting. And I still think it's interesting the fact that the LIV CEO and the PGA Tour commissioner are like friends, essentially, and how that will play out. It also, sorry, jumping a bit all over the map here, I think it's also really interesting that Laurie Cantor decided to join again. Feels like the move is back towards the PGA Tour. And to be fair, the PGA Tour have changed a huge amount since LIV have come in and made it a lot more player friendly. And so for Cantor to lose his spot, gain his PGA Tour card, and actually then go, oh, no, and just go straight back to the Majestics is probably not what I'd have guessed had happened. Now I kind of have the information available as I do today.
Yeah, I think it was certainly a move that people raise their eyebrows at. But actually, if you think, he doesn't live in America, he doesn't live in the States, so he'd have had to do a full PGA Tour year. He'd have had to be pretty much based out there. So that involves moving himself, his family. Family might not move. He might be on his own quite a lot.
Mm.
Lots of golf being played because he's going to have to play in everything to try and keep his status. He's having to learn completely new courses. He could lose his card very, very easily. Whereas you go to live, you play, 15 weeks, 16 weeks of the year,
Mm.
all over the world. You take your family, it's all paid for. You can still be living where you're living. You can still, currently, as it looks like anyway, turn up and play some DP World Tour events if you want. And you're probably being paid a signing on bonus that guarantees you some cash and guarantees cash with team events. And it's less of an eyebrow raising thing when you start looking at all the other like
Yeah.
life things that he's
Yeah.
got to deal with, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I see that. Talking about someone who is joined the PGA Tour, Big Dan Brown's had himself a good week. He's obviously made the move, a big move over to America, and by the looks of it, he spent about a week at Sawgrass practicing, playing, getting acclimatized, whatever. And then he's just landed in Hawaii for the Sony. So, talk about just hit the ground running. Big Dan Brown in America. Let's go.
Just love it. I think we should have a Dan Brown watch on podcast.
Yeah, I think.
Where is
I
he?
think
What's he doing? Where's he at?
we've got Anthony Kim watch, and now we're adding what feels like a more of a home product, one we can really get behind. Big Dan Brown watch.
Let's go, DB. Love it. Absolutely love it. And you know what? How good must it feel just getting off that flight or getting on the flight to Hawaii and just being like, yeah, I'm a professional golfer. Like, they're paying for me to be here. I'm just here to play some golf. Like, it's my job. It's work trip, not pleasure. It's just class.
PGA Tour, baby. Right. I think we should jump into it. So the main goal of this pod is to talk about goals. Goal. We wanted to sit here and we wanted to lay out a couple of 2026 goals for each other. Not for each other, but list our own, you know what I'm saying? Really stuffing this intro up. And so much like we did with the favourite courses of 2025, favourite new course of 2025, we're going to do a bit of ping pong. Josh and I think have got 3 goals for 2026 each. So we're going to take you through them, help you understand them, and maybe set some kind of way in which we measure them, so that we can then ping back at the end of the year. And so we can then add to our favourite new courses of 2026 also how we did on our 2026 goals. How does that sound?
Love it. Absolutely. Do you want to kick us off? Give us a flavour for where you're going to.
Yeah, I'll kick us off. So, friend of mine, Harry, speaking to a very keen golfer, good player, and he uses an app called Draw More Circles, right? Now, what you have to do is you essentially have to write down all of your shots through the round, then you input the data, and then it spits out strokes gained data to you, much like you'd get on the PGA Tour. And so you get it off the tee, short game, approaches, off tee, approaches, short game, and putting. And it's all measured to a male scratch, amateur scratch level. And so you kind of get this graph and you kind of see where your game is at. So I was interested. I want to get better in 2026. Who doesn't? So I downloaded the app. Now you get 4 free rounds. Now, to be honest, I didn't know it was only 4 free rounds, and so I was pretty committed to the long run here because it is a bit of admin on the golf course, but I was willing to do it. But I did hit my 4 free rounds, and then it tried to charge me £100 for the year, and so I've decided I actually don't care that much. However, it did spit some data out from me for 4 rounds that I would say were pretty typical for me. And what it ultimately told me is my putting's good. I've always known my putting's good. I'm a bit streaky, but generally speaking, it's the best part of my game. And that is pretty much exactly on the level of a scratch golfer. I've always thought my short game's okay. And I think basically what I found out, it's because my putting's good. And so my chipping is actually very average. And I get away with it because I putt so well.
Yeah.
And so really my graph was kind of, relatively mediocre tee and approaches, couple above scratch. And then really quite a long way off the mark when it came to short game and then good putting. And it's just not something I think I'd have ever uncovered. You always think, I need to be better at chipping or whatever, better at short game. But it's really highlighted to me that it is my chipping and pitching around the green where I'm just not getting it close enough to the hole compared to where I want to be. And so I'm putting a 2026 focus on chipping and pitching. I'm going to take that time that I spend normally on the putting green, and I'm going to take it over to the chipping area. And how do you measure this? It's going to be really difficult considering I'm not continuing in the app. But I'm basically going to say to myself, I'm going to have 6 dedicated practices in 2026 where I'm going to go down and I'm going to spend, an hour, let's say, practicing just chipping around the green and anything from kind of 40 yards in. So that's one every other month. I think that's pretty reasonable, to be honest. But that's really the main area I'm going to focus on. I'm going to stop just, pouring all my time into basically my swing and my putting, which is what I have been doing, and really zone in on that. So that is my first goal, improving my short game. And how I'm going to do it, 6 dedicated practices.
Very nice. I like it. Yeah, I really like it. These sorts of stats are so vital in understanding what you need to do to get better. Because otherwise, as you say, you'd just carried on pumping time into the long game, pumping time into the putting. Don't get me wrong. Wow, I wish I could say my putting was the strength of my game. I don't even know if I'm willing to put myself through the practice of it. Just, you know what, just enjoy the live rattlesnake. But yeah, it's vital in knowing that. I got to the point where I printed off the various different bits of information you take for the draw more circles and just never ended up doing it. So maybe one of my lighter goals is to actually do the first part of that and actually just be told, yeah, your putting's like a 54 handicap. The rest of it is pretty okay, but your putting is horrific.
I'm going to challenge you on the pod, mate. Like, you're playing 7 times next week. Like, it's not that difficult to do it.
100% next week in the tournament, whilst we're trying to compete for the trophy, is not the time when you start trying to tinker with things. Don't you worry about my head, my game. I'm ready to take the trophy home, baby. I've been cheated out of it once. I've been cheated out of it in Scotland, and I'm not being cheated out of it. I might play my way out of it, but I'm not being cheated out of it. Anyway, I'm digressing.
Do you consider your want for the Mama Whaler as the strongest within the group?
Well, given I should already be on it, because actually if someone had played off their normal handicap rather than the cheating handicap that they said they were at, I would be on it. Then I would say that maybe that's the case. I'm quite an intense person, so yeah,
no.
Maybe I would say I want it the most, but that might actually be to my detriment, to be honest.
I mean, I'm all for a good story. Like, I would really enjoy you being right there down the 18th on Montauk. It's such a good finishing hole, and it's kind of become almost the finishing hole for Mama Whaler. And just something going on there at the end with you involved would be really, really good fun.
I'd be pacing around like mad, wouldn't I? I'd be pacing around anyway. We digress. My first goal is actually a goal that I gave to myself, and they come kind of hand in hand. There's sort of 2, but it links into 1. So I'm gonna say them both because it's an overriding feeling. I didn't actually do it last year, and I felt like I didn't play as much good golf in 2025 as I did in 24. And I do believe that this is one of the key reasons. So at the start of 2024, I felt like I'd just been going backwards, and I felt like my expectation levels were too high for the amount of practice I was putting in, for the work I was putting in, for the way I was playing and the level I'm at now compared to where I've been before. And so I needed to have a real sort of shift in mentality of what's acceptable and what isn't. And so the 2 big things that I took from 24 that I didn't take into 25, but I'm bringing back for 26 is, firstly, there will be no club throws. There will be 0 club throws, because that does not help my game, because I'm just angry and it impacts my next shot. And the second one, which comes to the same sort of area, is I'm not giving up on any shot. So it doesn't matter whether I'm a million over par or under par, as long as I commit to my routine and commit to the shot that I'm trying to hit, then I've hit a good shot. And that is going to be my mantra for the year. And we're going to see where that gets me. I shot some really good scores in 24, more so than 25. And I believe that a lot of that was due to the mental game as opposed to having technically much difference to last year. I actually think technically I'm probably better now after I've been having some work and some lessons with Sam Truman, than I was even then. So there is no reason for it not to be a really good year. So that's my first goal and a big commitment.
Yeah, I like that. So just to clarify, I assume putter breaks are also going to go into the same kind of category as the club throws, or are you just content with you might snap a putter?
That's a good question. It's a question I haven't considered. I think given in 2024 there were 0 putter snaps and in 2025 there was 1, I need to
Mm-hmm.
go back to the 0 putter snaps. And you know what? If we're not getting on, just send it away. It doesn't
Send it
need to be
away.
abused amongst the process.
Okay, perfect. So come the end of the year, I'm going to ask you for your club throw tally. So you got you got to keep count if you start throwing,
Yeah.
and the putter break tally, which I feel good about that one. I feel like you get that one over the line. But no, I think process is a really important part, and I think it's just a thing that so many people overlook. I did read that Bob Rotella book, and I sometimes remind myself that like something as simple as like picking somewhere to aim is a really good starting point when it comes to your process. Yeah, I think mine could be better. I think every golfer's can be better, and so I like that one. Nice. All right. My second goal of 2026 is I want to play 20 new golf courses. Like I said, I want to fill out my my little picture frame that I've got. And I think 20 is reasonable. Now, bit of kick in the teeth that South Africa this year, we're going to get 0. But like I said, I've already stacked 1 from going up to Milnerton, as mentioned earlier on. But then, you know, not to run through literally the whole year, but Turnberry 2 in March. Then we've got Big Sand Valley in the summer, which is going to do 4 or 5, depending on how many you're playing. And then we're obviously off to Northern Ireland, so got a couple from Rossapenna, and then we're probably going to add in a couple around there. So already I'm into the kind of like 10-ish range
Yeah.
without even thinking. And we're going away to Spain on the trip with Iacto. So that's another one, definitely, but I'm sure we'll go play some more golf as well. So already into the early double figures. So I think 20 is pretty reasonable. But then a kind of subcategory to the 20 is I want to play 4 world top 100 courses.
Nice.
Now we've got 3 already booked in Elsa, Lido, or Lido, I think it's pronounced, and then St Patrick's Links and Rossapenna. And so I'm hoping that somewhere a Sunningdale slithers its way in, or a Swinley Forest, or Royal St George's, or something. So that's the hope. So yeah, a bit of a travel goal, but 20 new golf courses with 4 World Top 100s for 2026.
I like that. And you know what? I had a bit of a travel goal. So I'm also happy to commit to that 20 piece because when we can have a little bit of a back and forth at the end, where do we get to? Let's have that 20. I actually already have a part of a group that tracks the amount of top 100 world courses we've played, Britain and Ireland courses we've played, and England courses that we've played. And I was actually just having a look whilst we were talking there. And when I was thinking about what the goals, so I've played 50 of the top 100 in England, 51 of the top British and Irish courses in the world, and 17 of the world. So I actually thought 4 for the world would also. I got to the same maths as you that we've got 3 in the diary, and I think I can try and find another somewhere. And I think that would be a good percentage of what I've already got.
Mm.
I hadn't actually formally committed in my head to what's a good amount of these courses to be part of both Britain and Ireland and England, because actually, if you hit a world, you tick all 3. What I'm going to say is I'm going to go to 20 across the year. And in an ideal world, I would like to get a nice 5-5-4 split. So 5 Britain and Ireland, 5 England, 4 4 in the world, and then we'll see where that last 6 miscellaneous pieces come from. 2 of which I know are going to be South Africa, so I'm going to get a little bit of a kickstart on that. But yeah, I think let's have a bit of a travel one together. That'll be good fun.
I like it. And then obviously it sets us up to have a better conversation ultimately at the end of the year when we talk about our top 5 new courses that we've played. Um, so yeah, I think that's very doable, but also, if we do it, I think that's a great year. So that is super exciting. Have you got a second, or have you kind of just like rolled your second into that second and we've just got a joint second?
Just a joint second. My second
Perfect.
was going to be a travel one anyway. I could have done it third, but I
Nice.
thought I'd just bring it in and keep that nicely there.
Nice. All right. I'll keep it rolling with my third. So bit of a different kind of try to shake these all up a little bit to kind of take us all over the place. My final goal is golf related, but it also, links to FPG and kind of like where we want to go and what we want to do. And that is in 2026, I want new golf clubs, but I want to get them as part of a partnership that we are able to strike with someone. We're trying to grow FPG, obviously, and I think we've had a really really good start as a business and kind of as a platform, whatever you want to call us. And so hopefully through taking more people on these amazing trips and also putting out more content on social media, being in conversations with other people, conversations between us, on course stuff. Like I'm planning to put a huge amount of stuff out from South Africa next week. With that all kind of amalgamated in together, hopefully we can build enough momentum in 2026 so that, touch wood, dare I name them, a Mizuno, a Titleist, a TaylorMade, a Callaway, whoever it might be, reaches out and we strike a deal where, they become the brand of FPG. And then obviously as a result, you and I get some new golf clubs.
Love it.
and I just wanted to put that out in the world. So there it is. That's probably my kind of most up in the air goal, but I've now spoken it, and hopefully it will come into existence with some good hard work.
Nice. Love that. Yeah. Nope. Sounds great.
So
I hope that happens because that will also be really beneficial for me from a really selfish perspective. But yeah, great goal. I think that's fantastic. We can work towards it.
Amen. All right, hit me.
So my last one is actually an outcomes based goal, which is always a dangerous thing to do because you can't necessarily control that. Now, obviously, you could argue you can by what you put in, but I feel like I have perennially underachieved in some of the big tournaments, the scratch tournaments up at Royal Surrey. And I got to the semi-final of the scratch a couple of years ago. Didn't play great, got beat. I've not done anything in any of the scratch stuff. Won a handicap comp, but like
Beat
one of
me.
the big ones.
I
But
came,
like,
I
yeah,
came, I came
beat
second, and
you.
then we had to,
Yeah, it was an
go to a
FPG 1-2.
yeah, we had to go to a bloody barbecue afterwards, and I had to sit there and listen to Josh tell everyone about how he bloody won today. And the worst thing about it all is I was in the lead from like the 5th slot out, and then I just sat on the terrace waiting, and the wind started blowing and blowing and blowing, and the scores were getting worse and worse and worse. And then Josh just kind of says, just like, I think I've done it. And I was just like,
Yeah, it was a nice feeling. It has to be said. So the goal really is I want to get to the final of the scratch. I'm not going to be big-headed enough to say that I'm ready to win it yet. I don't think there's a lot of my game that's not there at the moment, and there's a lot of better players at the club than me. And actually, I think that'd be a really, really good achievement. But I would also like to place a couple of times in the gold medals or the Hulbert or wherever it needs to be. So somewhere in the top 3, certainly in and around the mixer. Anyone listening, I'm sure there's a few people going to scoff at it, what have you. But that's the goal. I want to be competing more in the bigger events, whereas I feel like I've been a bit of a flat track bully and do well when it doesn't really matter and play my best golf in better ball, 4-ball better balls and around our smaller course, the Pan, where you can just rip it apart here and there. And I actually feel like I want to try and mature as a golfer and do some good things, do some good things on the course with that. So that's my goal.
I like it. Yeah, I think that's right. I think you're right to kind of spread it across the main ones, the gold medal, the whole bit, and stuff like that. You can shoot a low enough score, so I think that's yeah. It's a bit like weirdly similar to like the Free Clubs one. Like it's a stretch goal, but it's like not out of the world of achievability. Is that a word? Probably not.
Yeah, we'll do
Anyway,
it. Let's use it.
yeah, we'll roll with it. And especially because last year our very good friend Georgie won the whole bit, so it just feels a whole lot bit more tangible, doesn't it?
Absolutely, it does. What a great, and by the way, as I say, what a great performance from Georgie. He was sensational that day. Watching from afar, wasn't in the field, so a bit like who's the new smash Taylor Gooch. It's like how Taylor Gooch feels. It's not really a true win if I
Asterisks.
wasn't in the field. Yeah,
Oh,
great
dude.
win for him, and yeah, exactly that. Similar handicap, similar golfer in many ways. Goes out and does that. It gets us all vibing, gets us all feeling it, which is fantastic.
Yeah, still vibing. So for the listeners don't know, Holbert's essentially our club championship. So we play 36 holes across both our courses. And so if you win that, you're basically credited as like the best player in the club for that moment anyway. Nice. I like them. We've got a really good variation, I think, across the board there. And so, as I said, we'll track them along. We'll remind everyone of them when we come to do the pod at the end of the year, and we'll see how we get on. So we've got 6 there. I think we should set ourselves a target of 4 out of 6 as an absolute minimum. Stretch goal 5. I
Love it. Absolutely love it. I'm in.
think we're disappointed with less than that. And I think that's it. Anything more to add?
You know what? It's just been nice to just chop it up. See that lovely face of yours. That's yeah, as you say, not as tanned as maybe we'd hope, but looking forward to getting down into the southern hemisphere in a few days and embracing.
Yeah, we're looking forward to. Do you know what? Yeah, I was so initially you were coming down a couple of days earlier. It would have been tomorrow, which would have been nice, but
Yeah,
not to be. But I will certainly be frothing at the mouth by the time it comes to Saturday, and all the boys arrive. So yeah, if you've got this far in the episode, basically what's up next is we're on a 9-day golf trip down in South Africa from Saturday. There'll be a lot of content going out from the courses. I'm going to potentially try and do a like day by day vlog on YouTube. We'll see how we get on with that. And then once we are back, we will sit down and chop that up and see what Josh's got to say about a couple of these new courses he hasn't played before. And then we will take it from there. And so, as ever, thank you very much for listening. Really appreciate the support. Please do like and subscribe. We are a full program golf on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. And Josh, I will see you on Saturday in Cape Town in the sun for what will be a great 9-day trip.
can't wait. See you then.
Cheers, boy.